Empire Detector 3000. Welcome to the future, or the past, depending on which empire your flag belongs to. Introducing the Empire Detector 3000, the first device bold enough to say, your flag is lying to you. This handheld menace scans any flag in 0.2 seconds and exposes exactly which ancient dynasty is hiding inside it like a historical jump scare. Beat. Umayyad detected. Translation: early Islamic nepotism with an unmatched expansion pack. Beep. Abbasid detected. Ah yes, the Golden Age empire that invented algebra and also invented collapsing spectacularly. Beep. Fatimid detected. Cairo supremacy, strong aesthetics, and absolutely no interest in Sunni approval. Hashemite detected. Otherwise known as, we revolted with British funding and honestly thought they wouldn't double-cross us. But wait, the new upgraded model includes 200% more disrespect for historical myth-making. Because somebody has to tell the truth, and clearly it's not the textbooks. So, if you're tired of flags pretending they weren't stitched together by empires, coups, revolts, and one suspicious British diplomat with a ruler, get the Empire Detector 3000 today. Warning, may reveal more history than people can emotionally handle.
Flagwash, premier historical laundry service. This episode is sponsored by Flagwash, the world's first historical laundry service. Got a flag with baggage? Pan-Arab symbolism holding 4 empires hostage in one rectangle? A British-installed monarchy? A revolution that aged like milk? No problem. Flagwash takes your messy national history, tosses it in the industrial-size washer, and returns it sparkling clean. Like your empire never collapsed, betrayed anyone, or got colonized on a Tuesday afternoon. Choose your wash cycle. Quick rinse, removes minor propaganda stains. Deep clean, scrubs away entire dynasties. Ultra bleach, perfect for countries pretending their borders weren't drawn by exhausted Europeans with rulers. Heritage softener, makes your national myths smell fresh and inspirational. Flagwash. Because if history won't flatter you, launder it. Use promo code EMPIRE3000 for 15% off your first decolonial spend cycle.
The 4 dynasties, hiding inside that flag. Let's take a walk through the 4 dynasties hiding inside the Palestinian flag. 4 colours stitched together like a family WhatsApp chat full of people who can't stand each other, but still insist on showing up to the same national holiday. We're going white, black, green, red, chronologically, politically, and with zero sugar coating because why wouldn't I? White, the Umayyads, 661-750 CE. The Arab Empire run like a family corporation. Welcome to the Umayyads, the dynasty that took one look at the early Islamic community and said, cute, but make it imperial. The Umayyads are what happens when you take a spiritual movement, put it in the hands of a politically ambitious clan from Mecca, and then hand them an empire the size of a continent. They turned the caliphate into a centralized machine with taxes, governors, armies, Arabic bureaucracy, and a very clear message: Arab elite on top, everyone else figure it out. They ruled from Damascus, which they transformed into a center of power and culture. Expansion was their love language. North Africa, Spain, parts of Central Asia. If you could paint it on a map, the Umayyads probably tried to conquer it. And yet, while they were building an empire at speedrunning levels, discontent brewed underneath. Non-Arab converts were told, congrats on joining the faith, now please pay more taxes and stand behind the real believers. That alone guaranteed an early retirement package. But the Umayyads kept insisting they were the rightful stewards of this shiny new civilization. White later became their symbolic color. White robes, white banners, white everything. The visual equivalent of saying, we are the pure, clean continuation of the Prophet's legacy. Meanwhile, half the empire was rolling its eyes like, are you serious? The Umayyads had a simple ethos: conquer first, manage later. Their administration was efficient but shallow. They were overextended, underloved, and politically tone-deaf. When you consistently treat massive populations like they're the extras in your empire's movie, revolt becomes a matter of time. and revolt arrived, dressed in black. Black, the Abbasids, 750–1258 CE, the revolutionaries who invented both the Golden Age and the dramatic collapse. The Abbasids pulled up like a rival rap collective with better branding, sharper political instincts, and a full PR team. Their pitch was simple. We're overthrowing the Umayyads because justice, also because we want the throne, but mostly justice. They didn't just revolt, they marketed the revolt. Black banners, black turbans, black everything. They turned colour into propaganda, image into ideology. Once they took over, they relocated the capital to Baghdad, a city they built from scratch, like if someone looked at the desert and said, yeah, let's drop the intellectual centre of the world right here. And for a while it worked. Baghdad became the axis of a civilizational glow-up. Philosophy translated from Greek, Persian, Indian, whatever they could get their hands on. Mathematics formalized into algebra, medicine transformed into professional science. Literature, astronomy, architecture, everything went from nice attempt to masterpiece. This was the era everyone later points to when they talk about the golden age of Islam, as though empires just spontaneously glow. In reality, the Abbasids were drowning in a sea of talented scholars, bureaucrats, engineers, poets, and thinkers, and they knew how to fund a library better than they knew how to fund a stable military. Which brings us to their fatal flaw. Empire is not a book club. The Abbasids loved culture but loathed administrative discipline. Over time, governors became independent, military factions stopped listening, provinces acted like rebellious teenagers, rival dynasties popped up like mushrooms after rain. Baghdad remained the symbolic centre, but power was leaking through every crack. And then the collapse. A Mongol army marched toward Baghdad with the energy of a final essay deadline you forgot existed. When the city fell, it did not fall politely. The libraries? Burned. The scholars? Gone. The institutions? Flattened. The caliph? Removed from existence. Black went from symbol of revolution to symbol of loss. The Abbasids left behind brilliance, chaos, philosophical breakthroughs, political fractures, and a cultural legacy too large for their own military to defend. And while they were sitting in Baghdad, inventing algebra and debating metaphysics, another dynasty to the west was quietly preparing to challenge them. Green, the Fatimids, 909–1171 CE, the rival caliphate who said we're the real heirs, fix your font size. Now we move to North Africa, the land of rival banners, ideological fireworks, and alternative political branding. The Fatimids arrived with a very bold pitch. We are the true descendants of the Prophet's daughter, Fatima. Therefore we are the rightful caliphs. Everyone else is playing pretend. They were Ismaili Shia, which immediately made them a counterforce to the Sunni Abbasids. They launched their movement from modern-day Tunisia, built momentum, conquered territory, and made a straight line for Egypt, which they seized with impressive confidence. And in the middle of this desert green takeover, they founded Cairo, a city that became a jewel of urban culture and intellectual life. They didn't just build a capital, they built a narrative. From Cairo emerged Al-Azhar University, one of the great institutions of religious learning, libraries, observatories, markets, an infrastructure, a cultural world that blended African, Arab and Mediterranean influences. The Fatimids didn't run an empire, they ran a brand. Now let's address the colour, green. Green becomes tied to them through later symbolism, a colour associated with the Prophet's household, with renewal, with spiritual legitimacy. Whether the Fatimids themselves used green as their official dynastic colour is debated, but in modern flag logic, they get assigned the green slot like a dynasty being sorted into Hogwarts houses. Their governance style was far more pluralistic than many give them credit for. Diverse communities lived in Cairo. Jews, Christians and Muslims worked in administration, commerce, flourished. The intellectual scene stayed hot, but like all empires, they faced succession crises, internal rebellions, military groups gaining too much autonomy, economic strains that gnawed at their stability. Eventually, the dynasty weakened so much that when Saladin entered the scene, he didn't need to storm the palace. He simply turned off the lights on the Fatimid Caliphate and restored the region to Sunni rule. The Fatimids didn't fall because they were weak thinkers. They fell because they were running an ideological passion project in a world that demanded military ruthlessness. Still, green stays on the flag because the Fatimids mattered. They mattered enough to disrupt an empire and build another. They mattered enough to leave Cairo glowing long after their rule faded. But now we jump forward nearly 1,000 years to a colour with far more modern baggage. Red, the Hashemites and the Arab Revolt, 1916, dynasty, nationalism, and Britain's "we promise we won't double-cross you" energy. And now we fast forward to the early 20th century, a time when borders were being drawn by bored European men with rulers, and empires were collapsing like cheap furniture. Enter the Hashemites, a noble Arab family claiming direct descent from the Prophet's clan, the Banu Hashim. They'd been custodians of Mecca, respected across the region, and strategically positioned for a historic gamble. The gamble? Revolting against the Ottoman Empire during World War I. The Arab Revolt wasn't launched on pure nationalism, it was launched with British encouragement, British weapons, British promises, and British duplicity woven into every handshake. But the Hashemites saw an opportunity, led the Arab world into independence, and finally take centre stage. So in 1916, the Arab Revolt flag was born, and this is where modern flag colour symbolism locks in. Black, Abbasids, white, Umayyads, green, Fatimids, red, Hashemites, red represented Hashemite leadership, Arab unity, revolutionary fire, sacrifice, the blood price of liberation. But also, and this is the messy part, red represented British strategy. See, the British had absolutely no intention of letting the Arab world form one unified kingdom from Iraq to the Red Sea. They wrote letters full of flowery promises with one hand while signing secret agreements to divide the region with the other. But the Hashemites pushed forward anyway. After the war, one Hashemite king took Iraq, another took Transjordan, a short-lived Hashemite kingdom appeared in Syria, and the Saudis eventually took over Mecca, ending Hashemite rule in the Hijaz. Today, the only surviving Hashemite throne is Jordan, but the symbolism of red outlived the politics. Red became the colour of resistance, revolts, Arab leadership, and anti-Ottoman movements. It became the triangle in the Palestinian flag, the flash of identity that screamed, "We were there at the birth of modern Arab nationalism." It's less caliphate in the classical sense, and more dynasty leading a revolt that reshaped the region. But flag symbolism doesn't care. It screenshotted history and moved on. The four colours together, a flag that carries an empire inside it. When you break it down, the Palestinian flag and other pan-Arab flags, inspired by the 1916 design, is not a simple political symbol. It's a compressed timeline. It carries the Umayyad ambition, the Abbasid revolution, the Fatimid counter-narrative, the Hashemite revolt. Four dynasties, four colours, each dragged into modern politics like they're still arguing in a group chat. White: we built the empire first, everyone else copied our homework. Black: we overthrew you because your governance sucked. Also, we invented algebra. You're welcome. Green: we built Cairo, challenged both of you, and created institutions that survived all your drama. Red: we led the modern revolt, got backstabbed by Europe, and still became the face of nationalism. Together, these four colours are empire, rebellion, ideology, legitimacy, mythology, geopolitical theatre. It's thousands of years of clashing dynasties compressed into a rectangle. The irony: none of these dynasties would have recognised the modern flag. Every single one would have been horrified that their colours were sitting next to their enemies. It's like having your ex, your rival, your twin, and your sworn enemy all appear together on your Tinder profile. But that's what modern nationalism does. It grabs fragments of the past, squeezes them together, and manufactures a clean myth out of messy history. So yes, the flag's colours represent the four caliphates, but the real story is deeper, sharper, more chaotic. White for empire builders who centralise faith into politics, black for revolutionaries who built a golden age and then lost it, green for the rival dynasty that rewrote legitimacy from Cairo, red for the modern revolt that tried to unite an Arab world being carved up by Europe. It's not sacred symbolism, it's historical scrapbook energy, a flag stitched from dynasties that would have strangled each other in real time, but stitched they are. And now the colours travel the world as a single unified symbol, carrying with them 1,000 years of power, betrayal, brilliance, collapse, religion, empire, and revolt, all packed into 4 stripes and a triangle. That's the truth. No fluff, no citations, just history and heat. Not right, not left, just real.